Alright, okay, so I mentioned in a previous video about how I believe we are in the age of a little season, chapter 20. So, I didn't know it off the top of my head. This is a Jewish historian from 66 CE, former priest Flavius Josephus recorded a dramatic battle in the sky where chariots and soldiers in armor were seen maneuvering through the clouds before the war with Rome. He describes this as part of a series of miraculous prophetic omens preceding the temple's destruction. This sighting, according to the Jewish War by Josephus, 653. Before the sunset, chariots and armed troops were seen rushing through the clouds, surrounding cities. A star, resembling a sword, stood over the city. A comet lasted for a year, and a great light shone around the altar, according to biblical blueprints. While some viewed it as a divine omen, sacred scribes interpreted these signs as portraying the destruction of the city. Now, this can be found. There is literally, it's called, oh gosh, it's literally called the War in the Sky. No, it's called the Jewish Wars. So, okay, so there, he describes 7 miraculous signs that appeared in Jerusalem.
Basel im Jahre 1566. Am Himmel erscheinen dunkle Kugeln, Hunderte von ihnen, lautlos und doch voll Unruhe. Die Leute auf den Straßen bleiben.
Verse 289. A bright light appeared in the temple during the night, thus also before the Jews' rebellion and before those commotions which preceded the war, when the people were come in great crowds to the feast of unleavened bread. On the 8th day of the month Nisan, and in the 9th hour of the night, so great a light shone round the altar in the holy house that it appeared to be a bright day time, which lasted for half an hour. This light seemed to be a good sign to the unskillful, who was so interpreted by sacred scribes as to portend those events that followed immediately upon it. 290 through 291. A cow gave birth to a lamb. At the same festival also, a heifer, as she was led by the high priest to be sacrificed, brought forth a lamb in the midst of a temple. Verse 292. The eastern gate opened itself. Moreover, the eastern gate of the inner court of temple, which was of brass and vastly heavy, and had been with difficulty shut by 20 men, and rested upon a basis armed with iron, and had bolts fastened very deep to the firm floor, which was there made of one entire stone, which was seen to be opened of its own accord about the 6th hour of the night. Now those that kept watching in the temple came hereupon, running to the captain of the temple, and told him of it, who then came up thither, and not without great difficulty was able to shut the gate again. This also happened to the vulgar, and to be a very happy prodigy, as if God did thereby open them the gate of happiness. But the men of learning understood that the security of the holy house was dissolving on its own accord, and the gate was open for the advantage of their enemies. 293 through 295. This is a huge one. Chariots and armies appeared in the sky, so these publicly declared that the city had foreshadowed the desolation that was coming upon them. Besides these, they feared on the ground day of the night. A certain prodigious and incredible phenomenon appeared. I supposed the account of it would seem to be a fable, were it not related by those that saw it, and were not the events that followed it of so considerable a nature as to deserve such signals. For before sunsetting, chariots and troops of soldiers in their armor were seen running about among the clouds and surrounding of the cities. 296 or 298. Voices heard in the temple. Moreover, at the feast which we call Pentecost, as the priests were going by night into the court of temple, as their customs was to perform their sacred ministrations, they said that in the first place they felt a quaking and heard a great noise, and after that they heard a sound as of a great multitude, saying, Let us remove hence. That's 299. Now 7. But what is still more terrible, there was one Yeshua ben Anuas a plebeian and a husbandman, who 4 years before the war began, and at a time when the city was in very great peace and prosperity, came to the peace whereon it was custom for every one to make tabernacles to God in the temple, began on a sudden to cry aloud, a voice from the east, a voice from the west, a voice from four winds, a voice against Jerusalem and the holy house, a voice against the bridegrooms and the brides, and a voice against the whole people. This was his cry as he went about day and night in all the lanes of the city. However, certain the most eminent among the populace had great indignation at this dire cry of his, and took up the man and gave him a great number of severe stripes, Yet did not he either say anything for himself or anything peculiar to those that chastised him, but still went on with the same words which he cried before. Hereupon our rulers, supposing, as the case provided to be, that this was a sort of divine fury in the man, brought him to the Roman procurator, where he was whipped till his bones were laid bare. Yet he did not make any supplication for himself, nor shed any tear, but turning his voice to the most lamentable tone possible. At every stroke of the whip, his answer was, Woe, woe to Jerusalem. And when Albinus, for he was then our procurator, asked him who he was, and whence he came, and why he uttered such words, he made no manner of reply to what he said, but still did not leave off his melancholy ditty, till Albinus took him to be a madman, and dismissed him. Now, turning all the time that passed before the war began, this man did not go near any of the citizens, nor was seen by them while he said so, but every day uttered these lamentable words as if it were his premeditated vow, Woe, woe to Jerusalem. Nor did he give ill words to any of those that beat him every day, nor good words to those that gave him food. But this was his reply to all men, and indeed no other than a melancholy presage of what was to come. This cry of his was the loudest at the festivals, and he continued this ditty for 7 years, 6 months, without growing hoarse or being tired therewith, until the very time that he saw his presage and effort and earnest fulfilled in our siege, when it ceased. For as he was going round upon the wall, he cried out with the utmost force, Woe, woe to the city again, and to the people, and to the holy house. And just as he said the last, Woe, woe to myself also, there came a stone out of one of the engines, smote him, and killed him immediately. And as he was uttering the very same presages, he gave up the ghost. Now, let me pull out the big baby, the old Holy Bible. So Revelation 20, Then I saw an angel coming down from heaven, having the key to the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. He laid hold of the dragon, that serpent of old, who is the devil and Satan, and bound him for 1,000 years. He cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal on him, so that he would deceive the nations no more till the 1,000 years were finished. But after these things he must be released for a little while. And I saw thrones, and they sat on them, and judgment was committed to them. Then I saw the souls of those who had been beheaded for their witness to Jesus and for their word of God, who had not worshipped the beast or his image, had not received the mark on the foreheads or their hands. And they lived and reigned with Christ for 1,000 years. But the rest of the dead did not live again until the 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection. Blessed and holy is he who has part in the first resurrection. Over such the second death has no power, but they shall be priests of God and of Christ, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. Now, when 1,000 years have expired, Satan will be released from his prison, and will go out to deceive the nations, which are in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, whose number is as the sand of the sea. They went up on the breadth of the earth, and surrounded the camp of the saints and beloved city, and fire came down from God out of heaven, devoured them. The devil who deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and false prophet are, and they will be tormented day and night forever and ever. Then I saw a great white throne, and him who sat on it, from whose face the earth and heaven fled away, and there was no found place for them. And I saw the dead, small and great, standing before God, and books were opened. Another book was opened, which is the book of life, and the dead were judged according to their works, by the things which were written in the books. The sea gave up the dead who were in it, and death and Hades delivered up the dead who were in them. And they were judged, each one according to his works. Then death and Hades were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. Anyone not found in the book of life was also cast into the lake of fire. So, like I said, this is where I believe we are. When it says, we go from that rabbi talking about in the clouds, thrones sat on the judgment committed to them. I saw the souls of those who had been beheaded for their witness to Jesus and for their word, had not worshipped the beast or his image. Over such the second death has no power, but they shall be priests of God and of Christ, just like they talked about, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. Now, when the 1,000 years have expired, Satan will be released from prison and will go to deceive the nations. That is exactly what's happening right now. And if you can't see that, then it's a little crazy, because there's a whole bunch of crazy stuff going on. Morals have changed in the last, I guess, 20 years. Think about the turn since 2000. Just think of the turn of morals, acceptable behavior, all that thing. And just because I believe that we're here does not mean that I believe in a couple days we're going to be here. You know, that's just not what I believe. I just believe that we don't know that some of these things have happened already. Satan is not bound. That is 100% true, because it says that he will not be able to deceive, he should deceive the nations no more. So if he was in the pit, where he's going to be tormented forever and ever, he can't deceive the nations. So it's saying that he's either bound, he's bound right now, and we're in 1,000 years, or he's been released again, and we're in the second resurrection. I hope that made any kind of sense.